cannot be defended because all of Sheng Rinzhen's army basically perished. And so the emperor had to do something. Is he going to be a man and is he going to defend the city and die with the city, or is he going to run away? He really wanted to run away, but he couldn't just run away. So what did he do? He said, and this is really about Chinese politics, which is when the top guy wants to do something, he needs to vicariously communicate with his subordinates what he actually wants, so that the other guys would support what he wants. So what did he say? He was like, you know what? At this point in time, I'm going to be a man, and I'm going to be fighting these foreigners. But Sheng Rinzhen told me it's around autumn time now, and you know what? My ancestors during autumn time, we used to go to Chengde, which is northwest of Beijing, to go hunting. And this is a time to go hunting, right? So what should I be doing? And you know what? That is BS, because his grandfather, Jia Qing, in 1820, died in Chengde. And from then on, his father, Dao Guang, did not go to Chengde. And they did not go back to go hunting in Chengde for like 30-something years, of like even 40 years. But he brings it up, hoping that the subordinates would be able to read between the lines that basically Emperor did not want to fight. But then there were a group of people, basically his younger brother, the sixth guy who was fighting with him for the throne, Yi Xin, his seventh brother, Yi Xuan, who is a very interesting guy. He would then be the grandfather of the second last emperor of China, and the grandfather, he's the father of the second last emperor of China, Guangxu, and the grandfather of the last emperor of China, Pu Yi. Is the seventh younger brother of Xianfeng. They were resistant. Gui Liang was resistant, and also one of his wives, the later Empress Dowager, she was resistant too. She was like, "No, you be a man and fight." And this group is very important. You have to remember this group. So this group were resistant, but then there were a lot of yes men, like his main guy called Shu Shun, who was like a really distant relative from the emperor, to the imperial family. He was for, oh, let's all go. So after a bit of jockeying and all that, they left. And when they left, it's a very interesting story. When they were leaving, they had to take a boat across the river within Yuanmingyuan, the summer palace, which is where the emperor stayed most of the time. When stayed and legend or tradition had it that when the emperor was taking the boat across the river, the eunuchs and the consorts were supposed to, and the gongnu, the ladies of the court, were supposed to shout "An le du," which is like safe across, safely go across. And so when that happened, when they took on the boat running away from the French and the British, his 5-year-old son, who is the next emperor afterwards, Tongzhi, at the time his name is Zai Chun, said, "An le du," like a young boy, "An le du." And then his father cried and said, this is definitely not An le, this is not safe. And so they left Yuanmingyuan, the summer palace that they stayed in. They left. And he did not like his younger brother, the sixth emperor, that's the sixth Prince Gong, Gong Qinhuang, Yi Xin. So what did he, and actually during his reign, his younger brother was not allowed to be part of the main, the main power. But when stuff like this happened, he actually got his Prince Gong, Yi Xin, the sixth brother, to be in charge of dealing with the French and the British. So not a very nice guy. So Prince Gong stayed behind. Xianfeng left to Chengde, Bishu Shanzhang. And actually, what's really interesting, so this is Xianfeng, this is Ci'an, this is the sixth brother with the picture. We'll talk about the summer palace later. This is Bishu Shanzhuang. Bishu is in escaping from the heat, because they're Manchurian. So even Beijing during the summer is really hot. And you can see here, B, it was written incorrectly. This is Kangxi. Kangxi wrote this. It was incorrect. It's supposed to be 2 strokes. He had 3. Why did I put 3? Kangxi was pretty good in Chinese, so he wouldn't get it wrong. So why did he write escape in this way? It's like so that it's not really escaping from any danger. You want to make sure that it's really about just going for, autumn hunting. But what's really ironic is that at this time it really was escaping from danger. And so we're in a situation where the emperor left. At Prince Gong, there was absolutely no defense whatsoever, and the British and French came in into the gate. The gate was open to them, the Andingmen, and it's Andingmen. It's really ironic because Andingmen's usually before the emperor when the Qing Dynasty was strong and ruling everything. Andingmen's supposed to be the gate where they left, that the emperor's army would leave through Andingmen, which means the peace, the gate of peace. And then when they win, or when they come back, usually they win, they come through Deshengmen, which is they've won. So it's very ironic that at this point that the French and British would come through to the gate of peace. And come to the gate of peace. The emperor is gone, with nobody to negotiate. Okay, you've got Prince Kong. What do they do? And so, at the time, they were like, okay, we've got hostages. There were the 39 hostages, including Harry Smith Parkers. What are we going to do? So we're going to rescue them, and it turned out that half of them died. And so now, again, it's very interesting. 2 sides of the story. The French and the British were subsequently they burned the Summer Palace because the half that died were brutally murdered and tortured. The Chinese side was actually the 39 people that were kidnapped were treated well. It's just because when you guys invaded, emperor left, nobody gave orders for them to give them food. That's why half of them died. So now we're and so it's actually in some sense, if you get a European scholar who is pro the Western thinking versus someone who's really pro the Chinese thinking, they would still have exactly the same fight. What actually happened to the 39 people? So in this situation, I'm going to say, okay, there are 2 sides to the story. It's up to you to decide. So when they come in, they then went to we've heard that the hostages were actually taken hostage in the Summer Palace. So let's go into the Summer Palace. And they went into the Summer Palace. They couldn't find they saw a few soldiers, kill a few of them, and then they couldn't find the hostages, but then they saw heaven. The Summer Palace was the most beautiful thing that anyone has ever built. This is according to Victor Hugo, the author of Les Miserables. And the soldiers who actually went into the palace. The French went first, and then they said, because a lot of them were Muslims, they said the 1001 Arabian Nights it's actually not a dream. This is actually heaven. It was the Summer Palace was built through from Yongzheng, so from the 1720s when it was still a king. That was when it was prince, all the way up to a lot of it was up to Qianlong. And it was beautiful in the sense that it was built over so many years, and it was also built according to the landscape of China. And they actually took the buildings actually took from three different sources. One is all the beautiful scenes of the Jiangnan area, like Shanghai, Nanjing, that area, Zhejiang, Hangzhou, the area. And then it's also based on legend as well. So legend had it that heaven existed east in the seas east of China, and so they had scenes of that. And they also had, and this is the most famous, the Western buildings. The Western buildings, if you know, it's basically there's still the heads of the zodiacs. It was in a European building, which in all accounts were actually bigger than Versailles. Bigger than Versailles, and actually that was only on a fifth So everybody would actually think of the western side as the western buildings of the Yuan as the main thing of Yuan, but it's actually only a fifth. And then so the 12 zodiacs. You remember, like the dog head, the pig head, and all that kind of stuff. Because actually the French missionaries that were building for Qianlong in the 1740s actually had it to be like a Roman like fountainhead with like a naked bodies. And then the emperor was like, let's not do naked bodies, please. This is China. So they had the zodiacs instead, the 12 zodiacs. And 12 zodiacs also is every 2 hours, which is the unit of time in China. So at every 2 hours, one of the zodiacs would then spill out water. At 12 noon, all 12 would do it simultaneously. So it was very beautiful. They say like for every 10 steps, there's a new scene. And so it was beautiful with tons of stuff. Watches, diamonds, jewelry, paintings, vases, everything. And so when the French came in first, and when they came in, like one of the accounts, one of the French officers' accounts, like the thought of admiration quickly turned into the thought of greed. So they started looting, just small stuff. And then it's interesting. The Europeans would take the jewelry, and then they would actually break the vases, and then they would actually use like probably very expensive silk and everything to wrap things up. So like the French were looting, and the French came in first. The British came. I was like, oh, where's our action? And actually, as accounts that the British actually looted substantially more systematically than the French. Actually, they actually had teams of what you should get, what you should get, and what you should get. And sometimes when the French and the British were to fight over something, they would actually take the stuff with a coin toss. Like a coin toss, like just like that. And then